Let's dive in and let's get started with the tool set. First, we're going to kick off with Android Studio. We're going to download that. We're going to use that as our main IDE. That can be downloaded from the Android Studio website or from the JetBrains toolbox. Next, we're going to look at Flutter. We're going to use Flutter as the application development framework. It uses the language Dart underneath the hood, and what this means is that we can build our apps one code base, and we can deploy across mobile, web, desktop. So we'll be able to deploy our app across the iOS store and the Android store. Next, we're going to be looking at how we use AI to speed up the development of this app. So we're going to use ChatGPT. We're going to use ChatGPT to help us plan, develop and design some of the application. And we're going to use Claude when things get a little bit more complicated and we want to build more of the code. I tend to use Claude here as it tends to support building out larger pieces of code better than ChatGPT. However, I feel you could probably do simple apps all within ChatGPT. Let's dive in and create a project. Okay, once you open up Android Studio, you should see something like this. If you've never used it before, you'll obviously have no projects. If it's the first time, make sure you install the Flutter and the Dart plugins from the plugins page. Once you've done that, you should get the option to create a new Flutter project. So let's click that, make sure Flutter is selected on the left hand side and press next. Now name your project. Let's call our project Vibe to Do. We're going to say it's a new Flutter project. com.example will do for now. Let's make sure it's available on web, Android, iOS, and check everything in there is okay and press create. Okay, after a few minutes have passed, you will see this view. The IDE is opened and we've got our code on the left hand side. We've got a little bit of setup to do before we get started, but let's explain what each of these areas are. Lib is where your main code is going to live. Each of these folders are build folders. You don't have to touch them right now. One thing I do like to do is to come in here and create an assets folder, and this is where you're going to store things like images, and then open up your pub spec, which contains all your dependencies, development dependencies. Obviously we're using Flutter, and your assets folder as you can see here. So we're going to uncomment that assets folder, and we're going to keep one entry in for images. So we can get this into here. Okay, and we're going to create an images folder, and this will give us a place to store our images as we continue to build the app. We'll update our dependencies. Okay, and now we can run, so we can open up an iOS simulator. You can run Android emulators from in here, but let's just open this app on the web browser. So some keen-eyed viewers out there might have noticed this as missing assets, so we'll put assets into there and we'll rerun pub-get. We can press play and we should get our app appearing. It'll take 2 seconds for the Chrome browser to launch, and our app should now appear. So we've got a Flutter homepage, and as you click the button, the number goes up. So our demo app is now working. So let's start to design our own application. Okay, let's jump to ChatGPT to help us start building out our app. So I want to create a stylish to-do list app. So tell it to make sure it's a mobile application. followed by an inspirational quote of the day. Encourages So then we want to have an input box where the users can enter a task. So what we're doing is we're creating the list below the input that when the task added, the task will be added to the list, and there'll be an option to complete the task which will remove it from the list. Create an application markup that is stylish yet minimalistic and intuitive to use. Okay. So let's send that prompt, give it a couple seconds, and ChatGPT will start creating our image. While ChatGPT is doing that, let's jump into Claude and start preparing Claude for helping with our app. So we say to Claude, we are list app in Flutter. User interface design. Okay, so we'll get Claude thinking about what we're trying to do while ChatGPT is building our markup. It's still working its way through the markup. Okay, so Claude is ready to go. Let's see. So any specific functionality requirements, whether you need local storage. Okay, we don't need any of that just now, we just want to get a mock-up working, so let's see. Storage, so this is called shared preferences and that. Let's just tell it that so it knows. Okay, so we're starting to get our app designed. You can see very slowly it's coming into play. That looks pretty cool, so let's take this image, we're going to copy that image, and it looks like Claude is ready to go, so let's paste this image in here, and let's say create the to-do list screen dot, and that matches this design. So here we go, you'll see Claude is going to start to create the code one by one. While it's doing that, I like to jump back into the Android Studio and start getting the code ready. There's usually a bit of integration that's needed to enable this. So you can see it's now on quote of the day. It's going to build out the main content area now with the text input, and now we're building up the list of tasks. Okay, so Claude is now finished. We've got our app, we've got our code, we've got dependencies we need to add to the prospect. So not only has it created the code, it's told us other areas of the application we need to update. Let's jump back into Android Studio and start applying the code. Okay, so jumping back into your code, you're going to jump into main.dart. This is where your application launches. You can see here the home page is currently set to my home page, and this is a class that's created inline. We're just going to go and remove all that code. Let's remove that code. We will get an error, but that is okay. So now let's jump into lib. Let's create a new Dart class and let's call this the to-do list screen. And let's copy over our code from Claude into our editor. Hopefully it will work okay. There may be a couple of imports. So it is saying we're missing the shared preferences, which we knew. So if we jump back from Claude, we can take the shared preference dependency, we can open up the pub spec.yaml, and in the dependencies section, let's add in shared preferences. We can add this in and do a pub.get, which will refresh all your dependencies. What have we got here? Let's see. And we have got that on the wrong line actually, so let's just pull this back here into here and run pub.get, and that will pull in our dependencies. Now if we jump back to our shared preferences screen, that error has went away. Now we have these errors here. We've got to do item, let's add as completed. I think that's just a mistake here. It's just a little mistake here. And we can save the code and jump back into main.dart, where we'll add our to-do list screen as the screen we want to open. There is no arguments for this screen, so we can save. And now we can run our to-do list app. We'll run this in a browser first just to see how it looks. Take a couple of seconds. There we go. So now you can see we've got our app. It looks pretty similar to the design we gave it. So let's say build a new app tutorial on YouTube. And we can add that to the list. It's now selectable, so I can cross it off when I'm done. So you can see right now we've got a fully functional app that's running in a browser. We can run it on devices. We can run it on an Android emulator and iOS emulator. But hopefully you can see how quickly we were able to take something from ChatGPT in terms of a design and then move that into Claude for us to generate the code. Now Claude has all the knowledge of that code, so as we want to improve the app or change the app, we can just ask some questions. We might need to look at updating some of the logos or the design, but very quickly we've got a very functional app just by leveraging the AI tools. Okay, so we've finished the Vibe to Do app in this session using ChatGPT, Claude, Flutter and Android Studio. If you want to see how we use the same tools to launch a customer facing app that will try and make us some money as we launch it onto the app stores, please follow the channel to join the journey.